The karts then are ready, the drivers ready, and they're about to be released onto the circuit for this first final of the day, DD2, the pre-final. They'll have the big final later on, of course. There, left of the picture is a pole sitter, Paolo De Conto. 2 wins and a second in the races yesterday. A win as well, and a couple of thirds for Jordan Lennox-Lamb yesterday. There he is in the right of the picture, the British driver, the Italian licence, but a British driver. Xenderuva is the highest placed home driver, the Belgian there, starting 3rd on the grid. 4th on the grid, Rasmus Markkanen from Finland. And then on row 3 there, on the left of the picture, that's the reigning champion, number 601, Ben Cooper from Canada. Having a good weekend so far. Didn't get any wins yesterday, but he was up in and around the top 5 all day long. And he's put that kart in a good position, 5th on the grid. 3rd one back on the right there. That's Mads Thompson coming back to Euro Challenge racing. Last time he was in Euro Challenge was as a junior, and he's done very, very well indeed. Good luck messages coming in via Twitter from Denmark as well to Mads. So he's got lots of support from Philip Wirtz. Let's go, Mads Thompson. So Philip Wirtz watching on Twitter. Keep sending your messages in. Let us know which part of the world you're watching from. And there was more good luck messages for Mads Thompson from Phil earlier on as well. So Phil, looking forward to seeing what Mads can do in this race. Send your messages in on Twitter at RGMMC. There's the rest of the grid, as you can see. On row 4, Damien Vuillem and Jonathan Tonon, the 3 times world champion in the KZ category. Row 5, Michael Christensen, who was 4th in the Winter Cup. He's been in the top 6 in European Championships in other categories before now. So the Danish driver, very quick. 2 Danes in the top 10 here. Brian Earden is alongside on row 5. On row 6, Henry Easthope and Matthias de Tige, another Belgian driver looking to go well in his home race, the 2012 Euro Challenge champion. At row 7, Dario Santoro and Daniel Formal, who's 14th on the grid, the Costa Rican American, born in Costa Rica, races and lives in America now. Daniel Formal would have been, we reckon, on the 3rd row of the grid, but he got penalised after the race. He had finished in the top 6. He got a penalty and was pushed back down the order, which is why he's only 12th on the grid. 14th on the grid, rather. 8th row of the grid, Andreas Backman, who was on the podium at the Winter Cup, the Swedish driver, and Hals Garkaklis. And then on row 9, Kevin Ludi, 8th in last year's championship, and Sean Babington, back in 18th place, the Winter Cup champion. He dominated, he won everything at the Winter Cup back in February. He was a close second to Ben Cooper in the championship last year. He was the senior champion the year before that in the Euro Challenge. He's been a British champion. He's got all this success. He won a race and finished 2nd in the other yesterday. And then from pole position, he had a problem with the kart and failed to finish his 3rd heat. Otherwise, he'd have been on the front row. Instead, he's going to be 18th on the grid. On row 10, Philippos Kalesis and Frank Canchar, 4th in last year's championship. And French, again, suffered a penalty yesterday. Otherwise, he would have been a lot higher up the grid, the driver who finished 2nd here last year. Row 11, then we got Jordi van Moorsel. Again, should have been way, way higher on the grid, but he got punted off in one of the heats. Maxime Gravy is alongside. Row 12, Luca Kamali and Marcel Schirmer. Row 13, Josh Collings and Martin Steinertz. Row 14, Enrique Batista and Oriol Damo Caballero. Row 15, Anthony Abbas and Barry Pullinger. These are the ones that made it through from the 2nd chance heat now, the final 6 on the grid. Joining them were Sanad Al-Rahawi, Julian Renadan. They're on row 16. And row 17, Maxi Fleischmann. And dead last on the grid, Mika Laiho, who won this race last year. He won the final last year. But he's 34th on the grid. And he's got a lot of work to do if he's to have any chance of a sniff of a podium in the final later on. Right, they are bunched up then, ready for the start of the race. Paolo De Conto backs them all up into the final turn. The red and white scheme for him. Jordan Lennox-Lamb in the green and yellow, green and orange colours. Or orange and black colours. Oh, gets a shunt from Rasmus Markkanen. And the red lights are on. And they're sent round again. So that was a bit untidy, that, wasn't it, Matt? Paolo De Conto sort of backed them up into the first turn, then booted it a bit, and then backed it off a bit, and then they were a bit too spread out, really.
Yeah, very messy, a bit too fast, I think, as well for the front runners, because everyone else behind was a little bit too far back. So they're going to have to try it again. Guys, keep it nice and clean up front, nice and tight as well in formation, because that's what's going to get you a start here. It kind of grows in the final and pre-final now. The points are going to be up for grabs, so this is where it starts to get very serious for all the drivers out there, the ones that have made it as well. As you said, Mika Laiho from the back of the grid, if he wants to repeat his performance from last year, he's going to have to make up 35 places. But don't bet against him. I know he's not had that much speed lead this weekend, but the final and pre-final could be completely different things. So look how he goes, and definitely keep an eye on the front as well, because that's where the serious points are about to play out.
Chris Hartley, and you just heard from Matt Suckling. We're in the commentary box talking you through these races here from Genk, and we're really, really looking forward to this one. DD2 is going to be so competitive this year. Last year, it was mighty. This year, I think it's even more competitive. It's impossible to tell who's going to be right up there this year, because they could all do it. Right then, second time lucky. The rolling start. Will it get underway this time? They're backed up, still a little bit spread out. Slowing them up, making sure everybody in the second half of the field can catch the pack. Right, now it looks a little bit better. It's still slightly untidy, but the race gets underway this time. A little bit spread out, but Paolo De Conto and then Zenderuva will be the top two. Jordan Lennox-Lamb tucks in there into third place. Rasmus Markkanen fourth. Ben Cooper's fallen back a little bit. That's Jonathan Tonon who's come up to fourth place. So Jonathan Tonon from 8th to 4th. He's made a terrific start here. The French driver right behind Jordan Lennox-Lamb. The leaders make their way safely through turn 5 now. Heading up the back straight, as you can see, charging towards turn 6. And a change for second. Jordan Lennox-Lamb slings it up the inside of Zenderuva and immediately gets his second place back halfway around the lap. So as they go into the hairpin at turn 8, it's the pole sitter, Paolo De Conto, that leads the way. Jordan Lennox-Lamb back into second place. Zenderuva pushed back to third. Jonathan Tonon with his terrific start from 8th up to 4th position in the all-blue race suit. And then it's Ben Cooper who's come back now to 5th position. And Mads Thompson is 6th, but it's about to change because he's losing the place on the way into the right hand. Was it Brian Earden, I think, firing one at the inside? Yes, Brian Earden gets the place away from him, and he'll lose another one, I think, down the start-finish straight. Up front, though, the top 5 remain tightly packed together. Yep, Mads Thompson 7th. Matthias Tatisi is up to 8th place. Rasmus Markkanen's down to 9th. Sean Babington, Matt, has gone from the 9th row of the grid, and he's already up to 10th position.
Fantastic start then from Sean Babington, so keep an eye on that green car as it heads its way down the back straight for the second time. But great scrap up front already for the top 5 cars, heading their way now through turn number 7. The right-hander up then to the slightly tighter hairpin, still in the lead of this race. The man who started from pole position, Paolo De Conto, on his tail, not too far back, is out Jordan Lennox-Lamb, and third place for Zenderuva as well. So those 3 come down. Still on the back of those is Jonathan Thonon, and last year's champion Ben Cooper is in the mix as well. So those 5 there just breaking away now. Back in the 6th place spot is number 641, Brian Earden. He turns his way onto the back straight. We'll keep an eye on Sean Babington coming up to the line now, head tucked down to see what he can do as they make the plunge in towards turn 1 for a third time of asking, but still up front, settling down for a time being. Top 5 all there or thereabouts. No one looking to make a move just yet though.
Andreas Backman, number 611, has just picked up a place down into turn 1, but he lost a lot of time in the first couple of laps, so he's got a long way down the order, the Swedish driver. The top 5, Constantine, are up under braking on the way into turn 6 through that chicane. They will then head. There you can see on screen the rest of the pack filtering through this chicane now. This left-right flick into turn 7. The leaders coming out of turn 8 at the hairpin now, though. There are the top 5 all together. Line astern and a little feint up the inside from Jonathan Tonon down the inside of Zenderuva, and he's done it. Lovely move that from Tonon to go to third place. Ben Cooper now is right on the tail of Zenderuva in 5th. So this might be the ones to watch into turn 1. Ben Cooper with the red and white colours, the orange helmet, closing up to the all-white colour scheme of Zenderuva, who's been demoted down to 4th place after that terrific move. Last second move from Jonathan Tonon to take it away from him into turn 9. That, in turn, though, has allowed the top 2 to just break slightly clear. Jordan Lennox-Lamb getting ever closer to the tail of the race leader, Paolo De Conto. De Conto leads. Lennox-Lamb second. Tonon is third. De River is third. Lennox-Lamb down the inside into turn 6 gets the lead of the race. So Jordan Lennox-Lamb, there he is, the new race leader. At the end of the straight, under braking, he gets ahead of De Conto. Tonon right back up them there in third place. Then De River and then Cooper. Then a bit of a gap back to 6, which had got Brian Earden in 6, but Mads Thompson's got him back. And then Sean Babington up to 8th to Tige and Markkanen rounding out the top 10 as Tonon dives down the inside into the final turn to get another place. He's up to 2nd now. He's just dived up the inside of Paolo De Conto. So the pole sitter, Matt, has been pushed now back to 3rd. make it second. Maybe he's going wheel to wheel here with Jonathan Tanon. He's trying to go around the outside of him. It's not going to work, and that might allow Zenderuva to get in the mix. And in turn, he backs Zenderuva up, and so Ben Cooper has a go now. They're wheel to wheel for fourth place. Ben Cooper trying to go around the outside into turn 5 rather, but it doesn't work. He'll have another go in a moment though, Matt.
Yeah, what a race up front. Paolo De Conto back down the inside, possibly for second. He's going to get the job done on Jonathan Tanon. He's then a little bit scarce out in the corner. Ben Cooper dives up the inside for third place. So the reigning champion has now got in the mix as well. And look at the trainer carts that are following behind. So 6th through to about 10th now are all joining in the mix. Zenderuva down the inside, contact between the two as well. Jonathan Tanon nearly loses it. He's going to lose 2 places as they head towards the final corner. But look at the race leader. Jordan Lennox-Lamb has managed to pull away. Brian Earden now gets in the mix down the inside of Zenderuva. Nearly contact between the two. And he was nearly sideways there, but great control in the car for Zenderuva. Here comes Jonathan Tanon. Sean Babington in the mix as well. Another move down the inside for 4th place. It looks like it's just not going to work. Zenderuva holds on for it for the time being. In 5th place he now is, but everyone up front are starting to pull away. It's all happening behind Chris.
Brian Earden in the grey race suit there, the Dutch driver, is having a terrific weekend so far. He's right up there with Zenderuva. And it's allowed the top 4 to spread out. What a terrific lap that was. Jonathan Tanon has lost 2 more places on the way into turn 6. So he's been swamped at the moment. And he's pushed down to the tail end of the top 10 now. So that'll be another place gained for Sean Babington. He'll be up into 7th now, maybe even 6th when we see him again. So there go the top 4. Watch for the green and white colours then of Sean Babington, 6.02. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. He's 8th with the orange and green helmet. So the British driver has come from 18th on the grid to 8th in this race. They go through with 6 laps still to go and plenty of time to pick up positions. Jonathan Tanon under attack from fellow French driver Damien VM. VM dives at the inside on the way into the first corner, and Jonathan Tanon, who started brilliantly, is falling down the order now. So going backwards for Jonathan. I don't know if you might have a slight problem with the kart suddenly, but he really has gone backwards, hasn't he, for the last couple of laps. So top 4 fairly well spaced out. Lennox-Lamb leads, De Conto 2nd, Cooper in 3rd, 4th place for Mads Thompson, who's really come back up the order after a slightly difficult first lap or two. And then we've got this second group of karts, Matt, being led by Zenderuva in 5th place.
Yeah, behind him in 6th is Brian Earden, and then Sean Babington is now well and truly in the mix as well. Keep an eye on Mads Thompson here. He's carrying some great speed in this race so far. He sits on the tail of Ben Cooper as they head down towards the final corner, but there's no denying who is the race leader. Up towards the line goes Jordan Lennox-Lamb. Paolo De Conto still there in 2nd. Is there going to be a move for 3rd place here? Not quite, because Ben Cooper, for the time being, has it covered. 5 laps to go then in this DD2 pre-final for the time being. Behind them in 5th, still holding up everyone else behind, Zenderuva and Brian Earden. Sean Babington yet to make a move for that 7th place, but it is a couple of battles we need to keep an eye on. One for this 5th place, one for the 3rd place as well, because Ben Cooper has really got his work cut out at the minute, Chris. He's got all over the back of him Mads Thompson. They fire their way through the chicane at turn number 6, sorry. Now on towards turn number 8 they are. The left-hander, they move very quickly to these carts, not long to get around the 1.3 kilometre Genk circuit. But again, down towards the end of the lap will come very shortly Jordan Lennox-Lamb. Paolo De Conto starting to close the gap as well for the lead. Good scrap for 3rd, and also a great one for 5th place. Change there for 6th. 6.48 has gone through.
And Sean Babington picks up a move on Brian Earden into the final turn. So Babington now gaining another place. He's getting closer and closer to the top 6, isn't he? Up to 7th place on the previous lap. Andreas Backman picked up a place as well. He's starting to come back up the order. The Swedish driver was 13th last time I looked, so he's been gaining quite a few places in recent laps. He got past Daniel Formal on the lap prior to this one. There's 4 to go, including the one they're on. You're absolutely right about this battle for 3rd place. It's incredibly tight. And then likewise the one for 5th, which might be about to change. Zenderuva won't relent though, and he goes straight on through the chicane, then clatters the tyres as he goes off the road with his right rear tyre. But he had to go straight on then. They were out-braking each other, and Rasmus Markkanen got at the inside. It was a last-ditch move, and I don't think necessarily Zenderuva was expecting it. And he couldn't turn into the corner because there was a Finnish driver there, so he had to go straight on. And then as he tried to rejoin, he clattered the tyre barrier with his rear wheel, but I think it'll be okay, as Ben Cooper, meanwhile, in 4th place, gets a really good run down the start-finish straight, right onto the tail of Mads Thompson in 3rd, but it didn't quite work for him. I thought he was going to have a lunge into the first corner. So Rasmus Markkanen 5th. Sean Babington is now in the top 6 after Zenderuva's excursion. VM is 7th. Tanon is up to 8th. Kalesis 9th. Brian Earden 10th. Andres Batman up to 11th. Christensen 12th. Formal, then Ludi, then Morsell, then Garcaclis, then Detige, then East Open, way down the order has tumbled the man formerly up there in the top 3 because Xenderuva is way out of the top 10, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Ben Cooper's just going to let Mads Thompson lead the way for 3rd place at the minute. He sits on his tail. They're going to work together here to see if they can close down the top 2 of Lennox Lamb and De Conto. So those 2 head on to another lap. Still for 5th place, though, good scrap between Rasmus Markkanen and Sean Babington.
And Deruva stopped, so maybe he had damaged it with that rear axle clipping the tyre barrier. Deruva out of the race.
So as the leaders continue on their way, on towards turn number 4 they go. You can see them now pairing themselves off once again. We know who our top 2 are up front, Lennox Lamb and De Conto. Again, the gap between the top 2 has slightly come down here, 0.3 of a second as they cross the stripe that time round. Still for 3rd and 4th as well, it's Mads Thompson and Ben Cooper, but to the ice, definitely starting to reduce now that gap between 2nd and 3rd. So great scrap here for 5th place. It's all changing once again. Sean Babington, I think, has got through now into 5th place. He's taken Brian Eden and Jonathan Thanon with him. The man who's dropped down is Rasmus Markkanen. He's now down into 8th place, I make that, as they head down towards turn number 9 again. Moves being made. Rasmus Markkanen trying to get back past Jonathan Thanon as they come towards the final corner. Still no change up front for the top 4. There he goes again, Markkanen on the inside of Jonathan Thanon. He'll run wide on the corner. Should get a good run down the start-finish line. Just up the front of that, Sean Babington and Brian Eden are now in 5th and 6th places.
Jordan Lennox Lamb then leading them, going on to this final lap. He's just about to go into the right-hander at turn 5. Paolo De Conte hasn't given up on this yet, though. The Italian is getting closer and closer the last lap and a half. He's been the quicker of the 2 drivers. He's getting sucked into the toe now, down at the back straight, almost with the race leader, Jordan Lennox Lamb, through the right-hander at turn 7. He's deep into the corner because he knows he's got company. Hear the engine note behind him as the Italian draws him in. He might have one chance here, but is he going to risk a daredevil move into the final turn or just settle for 2nd and a front row? Oh no, they made contact! Lennox Lamb off, De Conto off, and through into the lead of the race with 1 corner to go is Mads Thompson. Ben Cooper moves up to 2nd, Sean Babington 3rd, crossing the line in 1st place because he cuts the corner is Paolo De Conto, but that won't count. So the timing screen will be a little bit awry because Paolo De Conto cheekily just drove across the grass and then crossed the start-finish line in front of everybody else, but that won't count because he cut the corner. So where he'll end up, I'm not sure. But Mads Thompson, very definitely the winner of the race. Terrific drive by Mads. He was 3rd going into the final turn, or the final couple of turns, and then he ends up winning the race from Ben Cooper, and Sean Babington from 18th on the grid, 3rd. Terrific drive. Rasmus Markkanen would be 4th, Damien VM would be 5th, and 6th would be Jonathan Thanon. But as I say, the timing screens are going to be slightly out of kilter now because it will show, because they're all linked to transponders, that Paolo De Conto won by 1.9 seconds. He didn't. He was in that avoidable incident with Jordan Lennox Lamb. So Jordan, as he was still spinning and going backwards, raised a hand in the air as if to say, "What are you doing?" We had 1 corner to go. We were both going to be on the front row of the grid for the final, and then disaster. So it would have been an extra point for Paolo De Conto. He'd have got 34 points instead of 33, but was it worth the risk? Because now they're both going to be way down the order for the grid. They've lost a bunch of points. And, well, there you go. Sometimes you can't stop racing drivers being racing drivers, can you? But Jordan Lennox Lamb, I think to say slightly unimpressed with that would be the understatement of the century. Jordan, on the timing screen's 15th, but what happens to Paolo De Conto and where he slots back into all of this, they'll have to try and sort out with a rather complicated abacus or supercomputer or something, because nobody's quite going to know where he filters in because he sort of drove onto the track. So the provisional results, I think I might say the word provisional quite a lot today, is that Mads Thompson, Ben Cooper and Sean Babington are the top 3. I don't think that's going to change, that's for sure. And Matt Suckling has run down now to Parc Fermé area to see if he can have a chat with our race winner, Mads Thompson, and maybe grab 1 or 2 others as well. But sensible driving from the 2 behind, wasn't it? To be fair, there was fairly sensible driving from Jordan Lennox Lamb, Mads Thompson, Ben Cooper and Sean Babington, the top 3. Ben Cooper and Mads Thompson stayed close together but didn't pull any risks. And Rasmus Markkinen, that was the other big story in the race. Rasmus Markkinen, when they were battling for fourth place, launching one up the inside of Senderuva. It was a last-ditch attempt on the brakes. He went up the inside, and then there was nowhere. Suddenly there was a cart up the inside of him, so there was nowhere for Senderuva to turn. He had to go straight on the chicane. The problem for him, I think, was that as he tried to rejoin, his right rear clipped the tyre barrier. He hit it fairly hard, actually, and I suspect that's what caused the damage to the kart, and that's why he subsequently had to retire. So a very, very dramatic race in DD2. And Matt Suckling has gone down to speak to the winner, Mads Thompson. Matt, over to you. Okay.